What's going on, guys? This is Gainz Gaming. Today we are going over the final stats of our Mega KVK, the King of All Britain, fighting against 1960. Now obviously we did lose this KVK, but it was a lot of fun. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this KVK as much as I did. I did not hit the kill point goal that I wanted, but this was a very tough KVK fighting against these enemies. I did want to try to hit 9 billion, but obviously King's Lane did not last very long, so we fell quite a bit short of our overall goal. But let's dive into the season retrospect and go through this. This is my first time looking through this, so we'll be going through this together. I really enjoy these. I think this is really cool to kind of just look at what your stats are throughout the KVK. I'm really glad they added this. So the Crimson Path, you killed 57 million units, more than 89% of other governors. A Day of Death, the Lost King will never forget January 11th when your troops destroyed 13 million enemy units. Now going on here, a hero dies but once. In this epic campaign, you healed 50,136,000 units, more than 87% of other governors. 1.95 million of your units were killed, more than 85% of governors. So that means that I killed 57 million and I healed about 50 million. So, just over a 1-to-1 trade, not an insane trade, but basically like 1.15. Basically, I traded 15% better than my average enemy, which in this KVK, I'm pretty happy with, considering in the first zone, fighting against 1316 and 1188, I was trading on average like 20 to 60%. And so by the end of the KVK, after it was all said and done, I basically averaged 115% per trade, which, could be worse, could certainly be worse. But the beginning of that KVK was just extremely expensive. And the overall KVK was super expensive, but as we went on, we did start to trade better. I'm not sure if that's because of tech or because I was just like, okay, now I'm getting back into the fighting. It's obviously you kind of lose your touch over time. But as you get into the fighting, obviously you do start to do a little bit better. But I feel like tech definitely had to do with that as well. Going on here, defending the home front, you defeated 12,600 barbarian troops and 366 barbarian forts. I did start chaining quite a bit more. I have been chaining here as well as the Lost Kingdom is about to close, but we did do, not a ton of barbarian killing, but still a pretty decent amount. Going on here for the Alliance, your Alliance WIB, Watch It Burn, killed a total of 8.2 billion enemy units, ranking number 3 in the Lost Kingdom. And then Territorial Integrity. Your Alliance WIB built 411 Alliance flags and destroyed 33 enemy Alliance flags. So not a whole lot of destruction there. Obviously, we lost the Zone 5. It was mostly fort building in that zone. But then in Kingsland, we were able to push back 1188 and 1316. But, over the course of 8 or so hours, 2489 did start to go to bed, which allowed 1960 to come over and essentially 3v1 us, which obviously, I don't think we could even stand anywhere close to a 1v1 against 1960, let alone a 3v1 with 1960, 1188, and 1316. We were no match for that. So we didn't do a ton of Alliance flag destruction in Kingsland once 1960 came and joined the party with us. Now on here, Overlord, your kingdom killed 9 billion units, ranking number 3 in the Lost Kingdom, just behind 2489 and 1960. And then for King and Kingdom, your kingdom healed a total of 9.682 billion units, meaning that overall as a kingdom, we did trade negative. We traded just under 100%. So that would be basically 9.7 divided by 9. We traded on average about 93%. So if you're looking at a trade, we traded about 93% on average. For myself, I was 115. So just under 100% for the overall kingdom. Now, of course, that includes farm accounts, that includes main accounts, that includes everybody. So it obviously is not completely reflective of the overall KVK because, if a farm account gets swarmed on their way to reinforce something, that's going to be like a 2% trade. Whereas the enemy is going to have like an 800% trade. So obviously those are, going to have some input in here, but obviously not to the extreme of this kind of number. Then here, a total of 564,729,000 of your kingdom's units were killed, which ranked number 3 in the Lost Kingdom. So we did have quite a bit of kills or deads as well. And if I look in the Hall of Heroes, we can see here unit deaths 501 million, which allows us 30 special immigration points. You can see the next tier up would have been 600 million, which would have given us an additional 5 spots. We did have a couple of people already immigrate here. You can see 3 out of 3 already immigrated to 1960, 1 immigrated to 1316, 3 went to 1188, and I do believe we have either 1, 2, or 3. I cannot remember exactly, but I have seen a couple markers welcoming people already coming into 1846. But I have heard that we are expecting a very solid migration, so I'm excited to see what that looks like. Now, also looking in here, the season accolades, I like looking at that list too. These are the top ranks. Makhote leading the death leaderboard. This is such an important leaderboard. I think the death leaderboard is by far the most important because in this KVK, we had so many people with such high power. And if you're not willing to sacrifice that power, what's that power good for, right? If you're just, having power just to have power and you're not killing off your troops, like what's that good for, So Makhote is a great example of somebody that's completely selfless. He will mass fill a flag and drop 100 million power in the blink of an eye. And he's like, yep, I'll do it again. You want to see me do it again? I'll do it again. So it's honestly crazy fighting with people like this that are willing to do that. Obviously 1960, a ton of deads there too. Kieran representing in the top 10. Looking at the top 25, we'll see how many people we have from 1846. So we have 2 so far. There's 3. We got Kong Zaddy and then Goldfish Kim at number 25. So we got a couple people representing the top 25. Looking at the Alliance, we ranked number 4 with 365,000 dead points. These do not include tier 1 units. So that way you're not obviously, killing off your T1 siege and having that count here. This is everything T2 and above. And then looking at Kingdom, we were ranked 3 in Kingdom at 547 million, 1960 at number 2 with 690 million, and then 2049 with 858 million deads, which is pretty substantial. Now looking at the kill leaderboard, we can also see the top ranks here. 1960 and 2489 will have the most spots here, I would presume, because they had the most amount of fighting. They were fighting basically 24/7. We had a couple of lulls in our fights, but they were fighting pretty much the entire KVK, which obviously made it a lot more expensive for them as well. But a good example would have been like the past 7, where they were constantly field fighting, whereas a lot of times we were just waiting for 1188 and 1316 to come out of the pass, rather than just rallying it and then them swarming us every once in a while. It wasn't a whole lot of field fighting. It was kind of just standing around and, just watching the rally hit, which I didn't love, but obviously that's the strategy, is just let the rally go and trade well against it or not trade well against it. We had a couple here and there, but didn't have a whole lot of field fighting in that instance. Then here with the kill leaderboard in Alliances, 1960 GT, 17.8 billion kills here, 13.2 for 2489, and then us at number 3 with 8.2. 1188 and 1316 did phenomenal this KVK. I think they should expect a very good migration into their kingdoms. I think they definitely proved a lot of people wrong here, because I know that people thought that they were the weaker camp out of the 1846 and 1262, which I honestly don't see. I mean, like I was saying before, I think if you switched like 1188 and 1262 or 1316 and 1262, this KVK would be completely different. And from what I've seen from a lot of people is, after seeing this KVK go down, the much more fair matchup in this KVK would have been 1960 pairing with 1846 and 1262, and then 2489 fighting with 1188 and 1316. That would have been a much more fair KVK. But obviously that's just looking in the past and kind of just reflecting like, okay, people were underestimating the water camp with 1188 and 1316, which they certainly should not have done. And I think people also overestimated 1262 in our camp. But at the end of the day, it was a fun KVK, and people contributed as much as they were able to. Looking at the overall Kingdom kill leaderboard, we are in rank 3 again. 1960 obviously number 1, 2489 number 2, and then looking down, you can kind of see like what I was talking about when it comes to just Kingdom contribution. And this is not me talking crap about 1262. I've talked about this before. They were in a KVK that they probably shouldn't have been, and it's not their fault. It's matchmaking. That's just how matchmaking goes. But you know, at the end of the day, you gotta live to fight another day. Obviously, we wish that matchmaking was better, but it's not a perfect system, and it's not their fault they were put in this KVK. You know, so no disrespect whatsoever to 1262. We tried the best that we could, and we fell short. And that's how it is at the end of the day. Now, looking at the healing leaderboard, I honestly cannot fathom having this many healed units. 530 million healed units. I don't even want to know how many resources these people went through, because I feel broke. I feel so broke, and I did not heal anywhere near this. Looking at alliances, we ranked number 3, 1960 at number 1. So field wise, they were trading negative, but they were trading better in kills. And looking at the overall kingdom, you can see that 2049 has a little bit more, because obviously people switch around alliances. So there's obviously going to be a little bit of a difference there. Because like for me, for example, there are some times where I was fighting in Ouch, or some other times I was fighting in BIA. So it's the alliance isn't as reflective as the kingdom. The kingdom is much more reflective of the actual stats. If you guys enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like and subscribe. I really hope you guys enjoyed this KVK. I had a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun fighting against these really crazy kingdoms. Now, obviously, they are much stronger than me, and makes it very hard to trade well. So I do have a lot of work to do this off season, you know, getting resources back. Sorry, I cannot miss this, but I do have a lot of work to do with my farms. I will make sure I'm as active as possible on those, so that I am able to get resources back, because obviously I feel pretty broke right now. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's what resources are there for, is to use them. You know, I do have a good amount of resources coming back at the end of KVK, because now we get 10% of our resources back. And since I did not get an autarch testimony, I will be getting an extra 5% back. So you can see right here, you will receive an extra 5% of resources, 15% total, if you do not receive an autarch testimony this season. So I will be getting a little bit more than this back, probably about 1 billion gold, probably about 1.5 billion food, about 1.2, 1.3 billion wood, and then around 1 billion stone. So I will be getting a good amount of resources back, but I will still have a lot of work to do during the off season. I really hope we have a little bit of time before the next KVK, unless we're going into an easier one. But if we are going into another big KVK like this, I hope we have a little bit more time to get resources back. But if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.